Hello, POCC. My name is Michelle Mullins-Means. I am so honored to be a part of this presentation, and I'm eager to talk to you about why affinity groups, starting on the elementary level, are so important. I want to start off by saying when I look at the kids that are in my affinity group, I teach 4th and 5th graders, I see myself. I was one of those kids that was placed in a predominantly white space, and as a result, lowered my confidence. There's something about being around people that look like you, having your culture seen and celebrated, that builds self-esteem, builds a sense of importance in who you are as a person and validating who your people are. So when I got the opportunity to be a part of the affinity group at Hawken Lower School, I jumped on it. Not because I had the time. I am a mother of 2 young sons. I have a packed art education schedule, but because of the importance to our students of color to be seen and to let them know that they matter. So I had never done this before. Like many of you, I'm sure, are wondering, well, how do I even get started? And that was my first question when I was organizing last year. I thought about those feelings from long ago, over 30 years ago. And I started preparing myself for teaching affinity group last year. It was my first year. I wanted to put myself back in that same place of being a young child, surrounded by people that don't look like me, that don't share some of the same beliefs and cultures. And what would I need to feel comfortable enough where I could share some of my stories? So I designed my first project to be a painting called You Matter. The photo you're seeing is the very first day of Affinity Group. In the height of the pandemic, I was on a cart, so I didn't have a permanent meeting space, but we still made it work. By the end of our first session, I could tell that the kids were starting to understand that our experiences were common and that they were seen. I told them to save their You Matter posters and put it somewhere in either their room or their house where they could keep referring and looking to it and remembering that even though the dominant culture doesn't represent them all of the time, their culture still matters. So after our first session, the kids really enjoyed it. They could see that there were other students of color that they might not normally see throughout the school day. And it was time to start digging a little deeper. So by the time we were able to meet again, we were quarantined again. So instead of being able to meet in person, we had to meet through Zoom. I found this series of books online that teaches you how to talk to children about heavy topics. After I shared the book, we opened up for discussion, and some of the stories that I heard from elementary students about their experiences in white spaces were incredible. This book allowed them to break down what the feeling of belonging is versus being excluded. So, Xavier, why did you decide to join an affinity group?
Well, I joined the affinity group because I wanted to be around more African Americans and people of my same ethnicity or race.
And so you've been in an affinity group for 2 years now. You're in your second year,
Yeah,
right?
uh-huh.
What do you enjoy about it?
Well, I enjoy the art projects that we do, or like the little projects we do, or sometimes you watch videos, and yeah, that's fun.
Okay. So what would you say to a friend that was thinking about joining, but wasn't quite sure? How would you convince them that it might be right for them?
Well, I would tell them that if you want to be around, people who have like the same cultures and the same like things that you like, from your ethnicity, then you should probably join the Affinity group because maybe you could share different things about like your race.
I've always believed that using current events is a powerful way to make things relevant to our students. And it just so happened that during this time, the riots on the Capitol were happening. There was a lot of confusion on the part of my affinity group students. I didn't have all the answers for them. I also thought about how scary this must have been for them because I was scared myself as an adult. It also had to seem confusing to children seeing adults act in such a violent and discriminatory way. So I asked them to think about if they were in a conversation with some of the folks that they had seen in the riots, how that conversation could be turned into a positive, productive way to solve problems, to come up with vocabulary that would make the situation positive and productive. Your name and what grade you're in?
My name's Gabby and I'm in 5th grade.
Okay. So why did you decide that you were going to become a part of the affinity group?
Well, I thought it might help me a little bit.
Help you in what kind of ways?
To get to know people better, and also to know that I'm not the only person of like my color or my culture.
So I know you're pretty new to the affinity groups, but are you enjoying them so far, and what are you enjoying?
I'm enjoying the projects, and I'm loving it so far.
Okay, and how are the kids in the group?
They're kind.
Cool. So if someone were not sure if they wanted to join, what would you say to convince them that it's something good to be a part of?
That you will be welcomed there, and that you're not the only person that's going through anything.
Beautiful. So finally, we got some new leadership, and there was a positive light coming to the United States. I discovered that the talented Amanda Gordon also has an equally talented twin sister named Gabrielle. Gabrielle Gorman created a powerful short film talking about the experiences of being a person of color in America. In the film, she talks about being uncomfortable in her own skin and stereotypes that are often put upon us as people of color. Afterward, 4th and 5th graders had an open discussion about how important self-love is and how important it is to love yourself so that you can open that love to others. As a result of our conversation, we wrote love letters to ourselves and stitched a special envelope to keep them in. So you'll notice throughout my presentation that there is a common thread of creativity while bringing my affinity group kids in and strengthening our bond and becoming comfortable within the environment of our school and in the environment of our affinity space. My kids really enjoy art, and I feel like it is a universal way to get them excited to come and maybe even without them realizing it, dig deeper into some of these social issues. So unfortunately, I don't have any student examples left from this particular part of our affinity group, but I do have my teacher example here. So the significance behind creating a stitched envelope is because I wanted it to feel like it was something important, something handmade that they can go back and refer to. So they created these out of felt, and then their little letter would go inside, and I had them to list 10 things that they love about being them. So can you tell us your name and what grade are you in?
My name is Emery and I'm in 5th grade.
Okay. And Emery, how long have you been in affinity groups?
I think I did it a little bit last year.
Mm-hmm. So what made you decide to join an affinity group?
Because the project sounded fun, and it would be like with people that are kind of like me.
Mm-hmm. So why do you think it's important for us to continue having these groups?
I think it's important because some people, I don't feel really different from anyone else, but some people feel like different and they feel like they need to be with people that they're like.
Mm-hmm. So if someone weren't sure if they wanted to join, what would you tell them?
I tell them just try it one time because you don't have to do it if you don't want to.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so much. So I wrapped up the first year of my affinity group with a little party. I have a game called Art Bingo. We brought snacks. I got prizes. And it was just a really nice way to wrap up the accomplishments, the rich conversations that we had that year. So if you were to ask my affinity group students what was the best part of the year, that day would probably be it. All right. Can you tell us your name and what grade you're in?
My name is Jacob, and I come from 4th grade.
Okay. And Jacob, why did you decide to become a part of our affinity group?
Because first I like art, and second, I want to see how everybody else has in common with me.
Okay. If someone were not sure if they wanted to join, what would you tell them about coming?
I would tell them that what's different about us and what's not different.
So were you in affinity groups last year?
Yeah, but only at the last year in 2021 in
Right.
3rd grade.
So this is our second year doing it. What made you return?
I just wanted to meet. I probably thought that I'd meet new friends and like new people.
And how's it going so far?
Good.
So now I'm into year 2. We're in 2021. We are in year 2 of the pandemic. And a lot of the affinity group kids that I had from last year are now middle schoolers. So I felt like I had to establish again that sense of community and comfort before we dug into the deeper issues. So knowing how much our young ones love technology, I found this cell phone worksheet off of Teachers Pay Teachers. I will put the handle below. I also wanted to take it up a notch by introducing them to an artist that I found on Instagram. Artist FDZ Graffiti showed my affinity group how to upscale discarded paint cans. Students learned the difference between vandalism and what is graffiti art. My affinity students immediately fell in love with Felicia and her work, her creative clothing, and she had such a great rapport with the students. We're hoping to have her back in the spring.